Rome ruled the world. Its legions were unstoppable. Kings knelt. But in Britain, they made a mistake. They flogged a queen. They humiliated her daughters before their own people. And that day, Rome created an enemy. Her name was Boudica, and she would set an empire on fire. Britain, a land sketched at the edge of Roman maps, hidden behind mist and myth. In the east, among wide plains and marshlands, lived the Iceni tribe. For them, freedom was not a privilege, it was a birthright. The very idea of chains was an insult. Children learned to ride horses at a young age. Women and men trained with weapons together. Land was shared. Honor was law, and though no one knew it yet, a name would rise from this land. Boudica. AD 43. The Roman Empire landed on Britain's shores under orders from Emperor Claudius. But this was more than a military campaign. It was an attempt to pull the edge of the world into the center of Rome. When the legions stepped onto the beaches, the tribes of Britain saw for the first time what a true empire looked like. They wore the same armor. They marched in the same rhythm. They moved with the same discipline. The Roman army was not a group of men. It was a machine. Tribes that resisted were crushed, villages burned, leaders chained. But the Iceni king, Prasutagus, chose another path. Prasutagus did not fight. He made a deal with Rome. He paid tribute, he pledged loyalty. In return, he kept his throne and internal independence. Rome accepted, because Rome is patient. Sometimes it conquers with swords, sometimes with debt. Years passed. Rome built roads, forts, and trading centers across Britain. There was order, but it was Rome's order. Then Prasutagus grew old, and he died. In his will, he divided his kingdom between his two daughters and the Roman emperor, a desperate attempt to preserve balance. But to Rome, that will meant nothing. To Rome, women could not inherit power, and Britain no longer required patience. Roman officials entered Iceni lands. Debts were recalled, loyalty questioned. Then the announcement came: the Iceni kingdom had been annexed. Their lands now belonged to Rome. Nobles were chained, property seized, and then Boudica was brought before her people. She was flogged. Her daughters were assaulted by Roman soldiers. The tribe was forced to watch. This was not punishment. It was a message. Do not resist. But in that square, something did not break. Something was born. That night, a silent movement began in eastern Britain. Tribal leaders met in secret. Messages were carried, oaths were sworn. Boudica spoke. Her voice carried not only rage, but resolve. Rome promises order, but all they bring are chains. They take our lands, they dishonor our children. If we stay silent now, we will be silent forever. Her words spread like fire. The Trinovantes joined. Then others. Farmers took up weapons. Young men prepared for war. Women mounted horses. The rebellion became a wave that could not be stopped. The first target was Camulodunum, a Roman colony, a symbol of Roman culture in Britain. The city had no strong walls, because Rome did not fear this land. But fear arrived. Boudica's army surrounded the city. Temples burned, statues fell, Roman symbols were shattered, Camulodunum collapsed. For the first time in Britain, Rome was vulnerable. Next came Londinium, the heart of trade, the rising jewel of Roman Britain. Governor Suetonius Paulinus assessed the situation. He knew he could not defend it. He withdrew. Londinium was abandoned to its fate. Boudica's army entered the city. Homes burned, streets filled with smoke. Screams echoed through the air. Britain was in flames, but this was not just revenge. It was a message. Rome can bleed. Rome regrouped. Suetonius gathered his disciplined legions. They were outnumbered, but they were organized. He chose a narrow battlefield, forest at their backs, open ground ahead. This was Rome's kind of battlefield. Boudica arrived with tens of thousands. War chariots, shouting warriors. Two worlds stood face to face. The battle began. Roman spears flew in unison. The Britons charged. But Roman discipline did not break. Shield wall closed. Wedge formation advanced. The Britons became trapped. There was no room to retreat. After hours of fighting, the rebellion collapsed. Ancient sources claim tens of thousands of Britons died. Roman losses were minimal. This was not just a military victory, it was the triumph of a system. Boudica's end remains uncertain. Some say she took poison, others say she died of illness. But Rome never chained her, never displayed her in a triumph parade. She never knelt before the empire. Most of what we know about Boudica comes from Roman historians, Tacitus, Cassius Dio. The victors write history, but between the lines lies a truth. A woman once made the most powerful empire on earth afraid. Today, a statue stands in London. A war chariot, her daughters at her side. On the very land she once set ablaze, Rome conquered Britain. But it never erased Boudica, because some defeats fade in history, and some become legend. And in the misty mornings of Britain, the wind still carries one name, Boudica.